We're doing season 2, episode 43 over on YouTube Live. A little more of a loose format. We're over on YouTube.com/at Clippers podcast. If you ever want to come hang with the live, we're coming at you after the Clippers went absolutely insane in the fourth quarter against the Nets. That was 42-15 fourth quarter. We're going to talk about whatever the hell that was. We're going to talk about
hell of a win.
Will, how are you doing? Will Updike, of course, here. Adam Osland cannot make it with us, unfortunately. Will, how are you feeling after that win, dude?
I mean, I'm doing well. This was what was a really frustrating game and had the possibility to be sort of like one of those rusty, low effort, nooner kind of losses that like we've all but come to expect with the Clippers. And the way that they were able to clamp down on the defensive end there at the end, and shots just finally started going down too, because I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But like the shot making was really abysmal. I thought some of the selection definitely contributed to that early, but they got it figured out. And I think that is a win that probably talent-wise maybe didn't need to be as close as it was, but it certainly makes sense playing against a younger team with a lot to prove, a lot of energy. That's a huge win. I don't know what else to say. I can't really be disappointed in that one. They didn't pull it off for the full 48, but they got it together when it really mattered.
Yeah, people are in the chat. What's up to everybody in the chat? Will, you're going to have to be on chat comment duty. I can't do it due to our restrictions on our account. Yeah, never in doubt from Steve Rodriguez. We all predicted the 22-0 run that came out of absolutely nowhere in the fourth quarter. JD Banks, City of Compton, keep it rocking. Trance Addict, not Trank Addict, for those who are real YouTube live heads. For Clips and Dip. Love the crowd energy on the fourth. Yes, the crowd came through.
Since the OKC game, I think the crowd has been on another level. It seems like so far this season. It's hitting a peak that I haven't seen in non-playoff games in really a while. In
shout out 207
crypto.
Shout out 207. I also feel like the Clippers in arena guy, whoever's producing the light stuff, has been doing a better job of showcasing 207 with spotlights, which has been good. If you've been to Clippers games, you might have seen that. Can we put Ayo Guapo's other comment on there? Because it's also very true as well. Yes, Ayo Guapo 1995. They embarrassed us in front of the hose, but they made up. They really did. Those first three quarters were not very fun at all. The start to this game was a combination of an anomaly from the Nets shooting and the Clippers playing really bad defense. The Clippers defense in this game really showed up in the fourth quarter. We saw small ball stuff. It felt like the last 4 minutes of the fourth, which is when the run started, that we saw a lot better on-ball defense.
Yeah. I think it was the last 5:20 or whatever was like the 22-0 run.
Yeah, we're waiting for the lineup. Justin Rousseau, as our co-host Adam Osland calls him, is going to post the lineup data in a bit, and we're waiting on just the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter shot chart is insane for the Clippers. They missed 4 shots in the fourth quarter. 2 of them were threes, 2 of them were mid-range. That's absolutely insane. What up, Clippers UK? Thanks for joining the stream over on Twitter. That's pretty fun. Kawhi unwell, putting up 21 points and 10 points in the fourth. Crazy. Was he sick? Was Kawhi unwell? Was he sick? Yeah, this game started rough. What did Kawhi and PG start? 1 in 13 combined or something like that.
Yeah.
James Harden started slow too. Terrence Mann to open this game
for 6 points for the Clippers
was a godsend. He went 3 for 4 to open this game that they really, really needed it in when Paul George and Kawhi again were not really clutch. Or not, I guess you can't be clutch in the beginning of the game. Miles Johnson said Ty Lue said Kawhi was under the weather. He's sick. Kawhi was sick. We got his flu game, which did look like a flu game. No disrespect to Kawhi. So the practice, Miles Johnson is mentioning the practice. This was the first Saturday practice of this calendar year for the Clippers. So that's interesting. Something there.
In 3 days, no team activities.
Yeah, the rust was...
It was pretty apparent.
It was very apparent. The Clippers looked not in sync. The defense, the defensive rotations were rough. The transition defense, Will, you comment on it. People weren't getting back.
No. No, not at all. And I don't know that stuff. Like some of the effort stuff, I'm a little less willing to forgive. But hey, if you pull out a win in the end, I think it's fine. Um, yeah, Nets really thought they were going to go 2-0 on that on the LA trip.
That would have been a nightmare. I was texting some Laker buddies. I was like, why are the Nets allowed to play basketball in Los Angeles? We need to put a stop to this. Yeah, this win is this is an incredible win. I don't know. Someone tweeted at us over at Clippers Pod. Was this the best win of the season for the Clippers?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
it was not the best win. It was the most shocking. The right word?
Yeah. Putting yourself in a
run in
corner,
the fourth.
putting yourself in a corner to then fight your way out of
it. Yeah, it was a great fight, bounce back game. They
spotted him 16 to start. It's just you got to do it on hard mode.
Sure, yeah, you love to see the Clippers really putting in that extra effort. Yeah, someone on Twitter again asked us, "Is this the best win?" Not the best win, but the best comeback, I guess. I want to point out one funny thing that really helped the Clippers out. And if you watch this game and you're in the chat, let me know if you saw this too. Nick Claxton took a three, I think, in the fourth quarter of this game. He'd only made one.
It was in the
all
fourth
year.
quarter.
I think that may have been really early in the Clippers 22-0 run or something like that. But that was like a moment where the Clippers got the ball back and scored, and it was just like, what the fuck are the
It was
Nets
like
doing?
I want to say it was the third or fourth possession into the start of that because they had a couple of turnovers and then that like Claxton three. Yeah, it was not pretty. It wasn't all Clippers execution down the stretch. I will say that.
But we got it late, which was good. We do have to talk about, no one on stream has brought this up. Thank you, Nicholas Ramos. Absolutely insane. I think that's supposed to say Claxton. We have a friend named Clayton who, anytime he shoots the ball, I'll tell you what, it's an insane three-point attempt. We do have to talk about Russell Westbrook was good in this game. The Clippers needed Russell Westbrook to do everything that he did in this game. He was 10 for 16. And you know what my favorite part of that 10 for 16 is? He only took two threes.
Yes.
I'm fine. Take 2 3. That's fine. Whatever. That's totally fine.
He was really good around the rim, which is one of those things where that's, I think, the difference in how long of how much room for error there is in his minutes is he able to finish around the rim? Because if not, there's just not offensively a whole lot he can do, and him being out there can clog things up. But today he was solid.
Yeah, he was good. Huge
not
boards.
Perfect, but solid.
No, not perfect. But I mean, he was maybe he was maybe the most perfect Clipper today, which is funny.
That's true. Yeah.
He was probably the most perfect Clipper today. 9 boards, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, which you'll take every time with Russ, but he was needed very much.
Harden, other than a couple of turnovers, which was uncharacteristic for him, I think it was 10 assists to 4 turnovers, also had a really solid game. He was really efficient. He was on his classic James Harden step backs. It was great to see.
There was a thing that was pointed out by a couple of writers who know more about basketball than I do.
On the defensive end, yes.
Yes. The Nets are super switchable. They can switch everybody, and everybody was okay kind of guarding in isolation. And that made things hard for Harden today.
Yeah.
I think in the first half, they got outscored by like 17 or something in Harden's minutes, is what La Murray said. But yeah, Harden, it was interesting to see. So we saw the 4 Hall of Famers line up with Terrence Mann, and the Lob the Jam pointed out that that's as big as the Clippers can get while still being switchable in the small ball 5. That's still not very big.
No.
And I think we saw that against kind of backfire. No, I guess not backfire because it's like all that they have to deal with. But we saw how that could be an issue. Yes, Westbrook goat. Thank you, Brody. Is that really Westbrook tweeting? Wow, it says Brody. But what did we think of that? Do we think the Clippers need to make a move because of the size stuff? Not this game being the catalyst for it, but it did show how the small ball lineups are a little they're small, I guess.
I mean, look, I think the Clippers have their ear to the ground if there's a wing available. It's just going to depend on the asking price. I think Right now, I can see how you're really on the fence because the only asset that you have in terms of draft capital is this 1 20 30. I mean, you can count the assorted seconds or whatever. Those are more sweeteners than
But for a
anything
big,
that's like really moving the needle for a deal. And with how well you're doing right now, how much in like I just think it'd have to be a really sort of phenomenal ad to be ready to give up that pick. And that pick, I mean, 2030 is a long ways out, man.
it's a
I think
valuable pick.
I think that could be a really valuable pick. So it would
Yeah,
definitely have to be the right player. I've heard I've heard people saying the asking price for Olynyk might be a first, and that's not enough of an upgrade to me.
that would be crazy. I would not want to give the 2030 for Kelly Olynyk. I said I would cut my own head off if we gave the 2030 for Kyle Kuzma. I would do the same if we did that for Kelly Olynyk.
Kuzma
John,
is kind of interesting because like we could have used another scorer out there, but the defensive side of the
yeah,
ball would be questionable.
that was an issue in this game too. The Clippers defense, the Nets were getting to the paint whenever they wanted outside of the fourth quarter. Cam Thomas was left open a couple times on the perimeter, which didn't make a lot of sense. He's scored 47 on the Clippers before, just had a good game against the Lakers. So, yeah, I mean, 3/4 of this game was kind of rough from an execution and maybe game plan standpoint. But the Clippers leaned on them, right? And I don't think this is a game they win last year.
This isn't a game they win without James Harden, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, there you
I don't
go.
see
I'll take
with
that.
like even with like Batum and some of the wings that we all love and could hit shots and D up pretty well. I just don't know that you have enough offensively going to take a game from 2-3 like this and still get you over the hump. So this would be a game that I would actually have turned off probably with last year's Clippers, but just the talent level now and how quickly they can kind of turn things around. We've seen it in glimpses throughout the run of 2-3, but this is the most sustained sort of I hate to say flipping the switch, but there are just times where the clamps kind of tighten for this team and
It's
they look to
believable.
hit another level in a
Yeah.
way that's really pretty scary.
You believe that they can do it now. This is a Clippers team that for the first time in a minute, I believe that they are able to flip a switch. I don't want them to have to do that, but we've just seen them do it and they're buying in, right? Like it's because, shots aren't falling and things like that they went behind in a game like this, but the body language isn't bad. They're still communicating with each other in effective ways. Like, it's different this year. And
That's
this
a great
game,
point. Yeah,
like,
on court it doesn't look the same the way that it has in the past when things weren't really going right for the Clippers and the other team was doing well. We were talking a little bit about trades. Someone was asking sorry, that's the wrong comment. Someone was asking about Turner. The Pacers just made a big trade. So I don't think that they're looking
yeah,
to offload people right now unless they run into a situation where they're worried about their cap space. I don't think
yeah,
that Miles Turner is on the board.
yeah. I don't know. And Zoo's absence was really felt today. Obviously, you see what the Nets did in the paint against the Clippers today in the first 3 quarters. And you see why Zubats missed. Ghost in the chat says, "Did we find Paul Doe?" In reference to Paul George's incredibly bold Halloween costume where he dressed up as Waldo. Will, if
You're
you can
setting
find,
yourself up there, and
I respect it.
Paul George as a person does set himself up sometimes for stuff, but that's a conversation for another time.
Let me see if I can find the pic of it because if somehow you haven't seen it, okay, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and screen share something that all the fans here at Clips and Dip love. Paul George actually wearing this is insane. You know your reputation. I think Lucas Hahn said, like, I'm gonna tweet it. I'm gonna tweet the Paul Doe thing. And then he did, and then Paul George showed up.
Yeah, he was 5-17 though overall. So
Not a good game. Not the strongest game from Paul George. But again, that fourth quarter, that run, going small really helped out. Joseph Ryan Ward texted us this. He's very worried about Russell Westbrook. Do we think this game gave Ty Lue false confidence in the four Hoffers plus Terrence and Norm lineups?
Dude, the four Hoffer lineup with Norm is so damn small.
It's a small lineup.
If they're scoring really well, I guess that's fine. But today I thought that those lineups were hitting slumps on top of not being able to get stopped. So that's kind of difficult. I don't know about false confidence. I feel like I just feel like we're gonna have to wait and see and see what this team is looking like in April and what those lineups are look like as we get closer to what I would assume is a more playoff ready lineup. Though with Ty Lue, those things could change all the time. I think that we have seen, despite hearing that we wouldn't see more of Westbrook and Harden together for extended stretches, they have found ways to make it work certainly much better than it was before. And I think that it's indicative of Ty Lue. It isn't giving players, he isn't giving them like the largest margin of error or like the longest leash or whatever you want to call it. Like if Russ is smoking layups that are turning into turnovers, we are usually seeing a sub in that situation. Like, and he's not the only person, obviously. Like if Harden doesn't have it going, sometimes we'll see that switch where Russ is the first sub in, even a little bit earlier, versus going, I don't know, with Norm or somebody. I think that he's definitely super conscious of it and sense that, the losing streak and the original 10-game sample or whatever, it has certainly improved.
Yes, definitely. And he's still testing it out, right? Like we've seen this Clippers team. I think was it Minnesota where they went small and they really sucked, and then they felt more comfortable and brought it back with the small ball lineup. So we're seeing Ty Lue try these lineups, at least against Minnesota, against a team that you're probably going to see later on in the playoffs, right? Like you're seeing Ty Lue try this against teams that are playoff teams.
Yeah.
So that's something to just keep in mind, I guess, as we play, teams that are higher in the standings and teams that could be first round matchups, to watch if we're still doing the 4 Hoffer lineups with that. William Blast, fantastic name, says Kawhi started 2 for 11, Paul George 4 for 14, and still won. That's amazing. That is amazing. Partly, in fact, the other reason it's amazing is because Kawhi went 4 for 4 in 6 minutes in the fourth, which is phenomenal stuff for Kawhi Leonard. 14 points in the fourth, just absolutely insane closeout stuff. That run is going to be used in Clippers highlights for a while. There was just some really cool stuff in there.
I can't wait to revisit that one.
Yeah, now I'm still super I don't know if I'm not still high from the win, but I think I'm still trying to process how quickly the Clippers went on that run.
Yeah.
AJ wanting to know, is that good? Are you just watching on a different account, Will? Are you commenting on the own video? Did you send the link to Adam, by the way?
I did. Yeah.
Sick.
Stop asking.
I don't know. I was just asking. You didn't confirm. Adam,
this guy texted me, sent me a message in the chat, and is now asking on air. Yeah, I sent the link, dude.
Adam texted it. Crazy what just happened. We don't know. Still trying to figure out what just happened. From a Nets perspective, this is funny to think about.
From a Nets perspective?
Yeah, what a nightmare.
Look, I think it just depends on what your aspirations are and where you are at as a team, because this Nets team, I mean, like if they were like a contender or something, like they're a solid team, but it'd be a lot different. Like I don't think that this is that big of a hamper on your locker room. There he is.
Oh, he's in the stadium.
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. How's it going?
Yeah, they're doing the changeover right now here at Cryptos. There's a Lakers game going on tonight. I didn't see the Lakers have a 22-0 run, though, to come back on the Brooklyn Nets like the Clippers just did.
No, I did not either.
What was the vibe in the stadium? Yeah, tell us about
electric.
Inside. Yeah.
Honestly, it doesn't happen on the road. You don't get this fourth quarter if the Clippers aren't at home being fueled by the fans who love Russell Westbrook, who had his best game of the season and kept them in this one when nobody else really had it going on energy-wise. It was his spirit. It was Clipper Nation here. It was one of the most impressive Fast and Furious comebacks that we have seen by this team. The only one where you cut a lead down that quickly I could think of was they were in Detroit a couple of seasons ago, and I think they went on like a 13-4 run to send it into overtime and then would eventually win. When this team gets desperate, when they know they have to have it, we've talked about whether they're a flip-the-switch team before, but I don't know. When you see Kawhi Leonard play like that where he goes 4 of 4 in the fourth quarter after he had just 7 points, didn't look right, was playing in cement, to come through like that, to have that level of urgency. What did you think, Carlo? Kawhi Leonard was lethal. He was lethal. Let's be honest.
Lethal.
He put the nails in the coffin tonight, this afternoon. I don't know where I am, what it is, but the Clippers won. Can we get a nylon?
We have a Carlo Jimenez appearance here. Your voice of the LA Clippers hopping in on the stream. Love it. Lethal.
We're having a bit of a reunion today as Noah Eagle is in the building. He was on the loser's side this time. We're going to go hang out for a little bit afterwards. But, guys, that was – I don't want to put too much into it because, yeah, they took the first 3 quarters off outside of Russell Westbrook. They didn't look good at all.
Terrence, yeah.
Terrence, too. He had that great start, 9 points early on after they were down 16-0. But the superstars didn't have it. They look like a team. And by the way, Brian Seaman had this stat earlier. He asked Coach Lou about this. You guys probably already talked about it. But teams on 4 days rest were 1-7 this season. So it's not just like the Clippers are dealing with this, or this was something way out of the ordinary, or just because it was that matinee afternoon start for the Clippers. Any team that had been down or been off for 4 days, they just don't look right. Now they're 2-7 with 4 days off of rest.
Yeah, I wonder if the other teams had a similar situation to the Clippers too, where 3 of the 4 days were just there were no team activities in between.
Yeah, and this is also an older team like the Clippers where they gave guys more rest to recover. They're dealing with an injury with Big Zoo, obviously.
Kawhi was sick, which is also, that was crazy to hear too. Ty Lue saying Kawhi didn't practice because he was sick.
I think there's been maybe a few guys where it's been going through the locker room right now. But Coach Lue also punched up the right lineups late. That out of timeout, or that ATO where Paul George hit the 3-pointer, that was the start of the 22-0 run. And they eventually went away from Mason Plumlee, eventually went away from Daniel Tice to match that switchability that Brooklyn had out there. It was the right move. Like, they weren't going to be able to stop anyone in the basket if Mason Plumlee's getting pulled out to the perimeter anyways. So why is he out there on the floor? It was just matchup-wise, it played in Russ's favor. It played in the Clippers going small and running the big 4 out there. This was obviously the most successful extended run of time we've seen with the big 4 plus Norm late in this one. So I don't know what type of Power Ranger that was or what type of Zord they constructed. It was a little bit smaller. It was like just the Tiger Zord.
Sure. It was just the Tiger Zord.
It wasn't the Megazord for sure.
Yeah, they tuned it down a little bit, but I couldn't be happier for, it's another check mark for this team where you don't have it at all and you figure it out late at home. You're down 15 entering the 4th quarter. It's one of the best comebacks of the season for any team.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think we talked about it on the beginning of the stream, but like this is the kind of game that we've come to sort of excuse as a loss in the era of the 2-3 Clippers, right? We can kind of write it off as like, oh, the Stars, shots didn't fall. It was a midday game. It was weird. Even if effort is sort of lacking, you kind of get it. But for them to turn it around so quickly, I do think says a lot about where this team is and how different this version of the Clippers is really looking.
How are you not going to have confidence the next time you're down big? And we've seen them come up short recently. They were down double digits in Minnesota. They made it a close game late. So I don't know if they drew any confidence from that, knowing that, okay, we're going to figure this out. We're going to zero in and tighten the screws and tighten things up eventually on both ends of the court, because defensively, they held Brooklyn scoreless the last 5 minutes and I think 33 seconds when they were getting whatever they wanted.
Anything.
To show that
everything was there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They had the Clippers completely scrambling, off balance. It was a miserable game throughout, the first 44 minutes and 30 seconds?
Pretty much, yeah. I talked about this a little bit just before you got on. We're watching Ty Lue use the small ball lineup against playoff teams, like against teams that we may, in terms of Minnesota, that we might see in the playoffs. So that's something to keep an eye on. AJ on the stream. Adam's doing 10 things at once right now. Shout out Adam. AJ on the stream says something was born from that Minnesota game for sure. Adam, haggle, no haggle. Something was born from that Minnesota game.
Something was born, boys. But now I must exit the womb here at Crypto and get out of here. I love you guys.
Have a good one. See ya,
Later,
Adam.
Kill
Adam.
it.
Give Noah our best.
He called it the womb. It's the
Well,
womb
something
in
was
Krypton.
birthed. The
Sure,
man
that's
is
true.
the man is obsessed with new birds.
Man, that metaphor that's a slippery slope we got going on there. Anything else we want to say about this game before we drop into kind of this Clippers Lakers and a bit of Paul George contract talk stuff, or no? How are you feeling? I mean, happy to hear from Adam that the crowd was just as electric in the arena. I do like his take that we don't win that game on the road. That's not a game we're winning on the road. And here's a question.
Maybe in Barclays, though. I mean, it's not exactly like
Sure.
renowned for its, like for the home
Atmosphere
support. Yeah.
At 12:30. Yeah. This is like what? The fourth or fifth, maybe fewer game where I have personally felt that they don't win that last year. Like this is starting to become a pattern. We're starting to see this team. It's not that I mean, I don't know. If you're on the fence about fully believing in the Clippers, look at these kinds of games and look back last year or even the year before that, and find where they're winning these kind of games consistently. Right? Like
Yeah.
it's different.
You also alluded to it earlier, but just the temperament is completely different. Like this feels, I mean, just like the way the bench is on everybody, like the way the bench is always up and cheerleading for everybody, like the communication on the floor, it just feels a lot different than it has at any other point in 2-1-3. And I feel like there's always been sort of a criticism of like who the leader is or that they are lacking that sort of guy. Certainly they do have Russ who has been known to be that guy, but it seems like they're just figuring it out by committee. Like everybody there's an accountability from the top to bottom of the roster.
A real committee
that we haven't really seen since probably that 2021 year. The first Batum year where I felt like things were kind of turned around, and it wasn't perfect. And I don't know that squad wins this game, is able to pull this game out, especially in the way that they did. But yeah, this is a different look for the Clippers. This is a different light for the Clippers. And it's really, really exciting right now.
Yeah. Chunk Sampson is here on the stream. Hello, Chunk Sampson. He said, yeah, because they're legit contenders now. They are. The roster moves have been great. There's been some serendipitous luck in some ways by being able to have both Plumlee and Tice on the team to make the backup centers better. Russ was great today. He made good decisions. Like
Harden this is championship level basketball. This is what we're seeing. This is what you need, and this is what you need to do. This is the kind of game that even down bad, you got to find a way, I think, to pull it out.
Yeah, and especially again with Zoo out. Like they still stacking wins with Zoo out is still a task. It's still a tall task for the Clippers, and
this game does look different, obviously. Like, I think we're gonna see that. I think that is gonna be one place that he's missed that we don't really associate Zoo with is on the offensive end. Is sometimes when we're on a really slow shooting start, being able to kind of, toss him a few easy ones. Mason can definitely pick up the slack there, but I still think he's not maybe at 100% of what he can be on the floor.
Well, and just the level that Zoo was playing at before he got hurt, it was like everything was going in for him around the rim. He'd elevate, his little push baby hook had been,
his range. He does have, his range has gotten a lot better this season.
Yeah. Taz Vortex, sick ass name, says it's good. I'm assuming they meant to say it's good to see the Clippers are sticking to their word and taking the regular season seriously. Hell yes, they really are. Like they genuinely are taking it seriously. And I think most fans were like, we're about exactly halfway through the season. We're at 41 or something like that. It was going to be like, I'll believe this when we're halfway through the season, right? It's most Clippers fans. We don't care about the first week. We don't care about the second week. Where we're going to be at, All-Star break and actually halfway through the season and things like that. So this is a win you need to get if you're the Clippers. Anything else before we get into Lakers talk? A game that might not be as fun. I don't know.
Nah, let's keep it moving.
Cool. We're going to keep this moving. If you're on the live on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast or on Twitter @ClippersPod, we do the live over there too. Thanks. If you're listening and you don't want to deal with ads, you can always watch the podcast.
It's true.
which is a weird thing that
You can catch
a
it
lot of
live
people do
or
now.
over on youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast.
Yes, but if you're just listening and the ads have been loud for you, go ahead and turn it down. We got ads coming up, and then we're talking Clippers versus Lakers. Ads in 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we're back in. If you're on the stream, obviously we never left, but we are talking the Clippers taking on the Lakers. They did not manage to turn it around against the Nets, and last time we played them, we had a tough fought loss in a game that, not to make excuses, but did seem like it meant a lot more to one team on the floor there.
Ooh, okay. I like the other team across the hall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they seem like they care a little more about these games right now. We're kind of in a bit. Ghost, thank you for joining the live after the game. We're in a bit of a deja vu scenario with the Clippers and Lakers because last time we played them, me, and Adam talked about, Adam, and I talked about if the Clippers run them off the floor, will Darvin Ham be fired after this game? Well, we're back into that boat again. But alluding to kind of what Danny Perez says too, these games are always difficult. It does not really matter how the Lakers are playing or the Clippers are playing when these two teams meet. I'm very happy for the neutral fan in this one. No Zubats is a pretty big issue here. How do you see, if you're in the chat, let us know too. Daniel Perez saying their length is going to be tough. Will, how do you see the Clippers kind of opening this game, right? Like we saw how badly we needed Zoo to open this one against the Nets. What are we looking for the Clips against this a home game for the Clippers too, which is great.
Look, I mean, I think even if shots aren't falling down, which I do think a lot of people have mentioned the size in here, that is something that can throw this Clippers offense for a little bit of a loop. If we see the defense ratcheted up to the level that we saw today, honestly, if we could get 70% of what we saw in the last 5 games of this, I think that could say a lot against the Lakers offense that has its struggles.
Yes, it's
it's one thing to say that, but like doing that on the inside against a team that wants to punish you when you're sort of downsize is going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting matchup for Ty Lue to tinker around with.
Yeah, especially if you look at Zoo. Zoo had 22 and 19 the last time we played the Lakers.
Huge game.
Like Zoo was maybe at his best against the Lakers. William Blast says Harden has to be more aggressive early. Often he's passive early. That's what's interesting too, kind of looking at that in the lens of how Paul George and Kawhi started this game against the Nets. Not good. 1 of 10 in the first quarter, I believe. They're going to be given an emphasis early in the Lakers game, just kind of by design, and that's how things work, and we want Paul George to bounce back. Harden without Zoo, it gets so interesting because Mason Plumlee is good in the pick and roll, but he's not as good of a decision maker as Zoo. So the Lakers defense can kind of clog things up a little bit more.
One thing I will say is, man, we had some of what had to be some of the most inefficient games from not only Kawhi and Paul George, but also Harden. Norm shot for 25% from the floor in that one.
It was rough.
I think if just maybe 3 guys have a bad game, you're in a much better spot. It's a more comfortable win than that game was. That game had a lot going on, a lot that went wrong. And they still went down to the wire. That was still a winnable game.
Yeah, Ben shot 28% as a collective in this one. So we definitely need Russ to be a little more on his Nets game, Russ, and not his Lakers game, Russ. Last time out versus the Lakers, 3 of 9, minus 12, not one of his better games, but he's coming off a great game. I don't have the stats in front of me of like what he looks like after he's had a good game, like shooting wise, like he had a great game shooting wise against the Nets. We don't really know, what he looks like kind of on the second, the night after he has a good shooting night. So I just hope he makes the same good decisions he was making for that. Steve Rodriguez in the chat on YouTube, he says, is there a long-term takeaway from this game or just one of those games we treasure but means nothing for the real goal of a chip? I think you kind of nailed it in the second part.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
But yeah.
Well, the one thing I guess it could mean is just like I do think that it's good for the mentality of a team to have to have big comebacks. I do think that it's important for a team to get the home crowd going like there is in this one, because home court advantage is only home court advantage if your crowd makes it that. You know
Yeah, I
what I
was saying,
mean?
no,
Like, I'm
not
sure it's great.
here. Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's great to sleep in your own bed and everything, but like home court advantage is only that if the fans make it that. And I think seeing your
Yeah.
team able to come back from what was really kind of a dog shit game until the last 5 minutes, and still have the fans. Like, I didn't see people walking out of the stadium at any point.
Hell yeah.
I think that means, I think that could mean something. And yeah, just being able to relook at that tape and know like the peak of what this team can do, albeit not against like the highest level of competition, but you still,
Hey.
things that were working, and you can get back to those. You have that in your back pocket if needed.
Yeah, and you still got to beat those teams. You got to show. That's a knock on every, what's your record against team with that? Logan Rapp, Clippers super fan and Twitter power user Logan Rapp, said Lakers at 10th are barely hanging on to a postseason coming up to the deadline. They have enough desperation to be a buyer to get up for this on top of the hallway element. Yeah, I don't know if this is like a last gasp. No idea what the Lakers are going to do at the deadline. They don't want to trade Reeves.
I have to be honest, it shouldn't be. Like, this shouldn't be the deciding factor. Like,
I know.
And
they're screwed. Yeah.
This is like not necessary. Like, this is not meant to be shade. This is just like objectively, these two teams are not in the same tier. They're not in the same.
We're halfway through the season. I think it's fair to say.
I think we see like where the ceilings of both these teams are, and they're not really in the same conversation. I'll just say, don't let this be the deciding factor. If you want it to be, great. But I'm just saying, like, if we're what you're comparing yourself to, Lakers, I'm sorry, you're making a mistake. I'm sorry, you're not here. You're not sitting at this table.
And is that Paolo Lagarda says, got to give Russ a lot of credit for keeping us in the game. We do. We did that. He was fantastic. We hope he can do it against the Lakers. Will, to your point about these two teams being on different levels, how would you feel down Zubats? It's probably going to be a close game no matter what. How'd you feel if the Clippers dropped this one to the Lakers? How would you feel? Got a day of rest.
Not good. I got to be honest with you.
I would be upset.
The way that we've played the Lakers this season, I would not feel good about it. No.
Yeah, because it also feels like last game we let them. They were very good. I don't mean it anything like that, but we really helped them.
And we were not very good.
Yes.
That was not our best basketball. Like, to watch that again, I think would not be, for me, that would not be very good.
Personally, yeah. I mean, the Lakers had 19 turnovers. We won turnovers by 5. We shot 39%. Their length really bothered us. They also shot 38% from 3, which... Not sure if that happens again. I don't know. And this is
not that good, though. You know what I mean? It's not it's not 40+%.
And it's a bit of a different Lakers team, right? Like, D'Angelo Russell came off the bench in this last time we played. And I'm pretty sure he will be starting on Tuesday night. So I do like that the Clippers have just been playing so well. Obviously, we lose that game today. I feel a lot different going into Tuesday. But seeing the team,
then it does become a must. It does become a must win in that scenario.
Yeah, I like this Data Man comment in the YouTube stream. We can't lose that game. We need to show what we can do against that team. We have to go against teams who are longer. That's true. That's the archetype.
I really like that last point, because I do think that has been a concern for this Clippers team, is how are they going to be able to respond to that in the playoffs in a 7-game series? And if you're not getting it done in a single game sampling, you definitely have questions. Obviously, things are different in the playoffs. They slow down, yada, yada, yada. But our friend of the pod, Joseph Raya Ward, has commented that the Timberwolves do kind of scare him just because of that size. And how do the Clippers deal with that night in, night out throughout a 7-game series?
Yeah, and to do it against the team that's not as good as the Wolves, right? Like, let's get that building block, let's get past them in that sense, and I'll be feeling pretty good about this game. Who do you think we'll see the 4 Hoffer lineup against the Lakers?
Only if it's scoring really well, like because it's not stopping anything. So
Yeah.
only if they're really efficient scoring.
It's not stopping anything. Someone in the chat, Danny Perez says more coffee minutes. Just wondering if he'll play more. He played 13 minutes against the
I think he
Lakers
was a
last
team
time.
worst, like -7 or something too.
Second team worst, but yes, he was -7. It was not very good. So
He wasn't bad. He wasn't bad at like necessarily. He just, it wasn't like a game. It wasn't like a momentum kind of game changing coffee game that we can sometimes get out of him.
yes, and he was not very good today either. Defensively, he was not ideal. He did go 2 for 2.
Yeah.
What's up? There's my cat.
Okay, go away.
Who is your? So I don't know if we might see small ball. It's another big team. We might see the Clippers small ball, which is kind of the smallest of small ball. In this one. So who's your player of the game pick for this one?
Player of the game pick. Does Paul George have another bounce back in him?
He has to. We need Paul George to be better in this game. Paul George was 8 for 18 in the last game against the Lakers. He was not what we needed. And he was not what we needed to open this game. He was very bad to open this game today.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Paul George, and I want to see it early in this one. Like,
shit. I agree.
I love a Paul George fourth quarter explosion. Hey, it's great. Would love to see it. Would love to see a couple fall for him early in this one, and just have that confidence because it does carry over onto both sides of the floor for him.
Yeah. So you're going Paul George. I don't want to say Kawhi Leonard because that feels like cheating. But I think this is good. Okay, so I'm not picking. We need one of the backup bigs to be at their best to open this game. We need Mason Plumlee to like be at his best.
I love that
to open this game for the Clippers. Again, if you missed it,
you think Mason Plumlee has a double-double in him?
I hope so. It would really help. If it's not going to be Mason, it's going to be Russ playing this 5.
Oh, we're getting some Harden comments in the chat, which I also like.
Yes, William Blast. I'm going to be honest, every time I see your name, if you were on YouTube, it would be Billy Blast. If you were a YouTuber, your name, it's just funny. Need Harden to have a really nice game. Agreed. Really need him. Is he? I know he took 13 shots last time against the Lakers, but they were not. He made what, 5 of them? 4 of them. He was rough against the Lakers last time.
Yeah, 4 for 13.
Yeah. Well, are you on Seth's side? We need a Plumlee game. I think you're right, dude. The double-double, he should at least be on pace for a double-double at half. We don't know how the minutes are going to shake out, but he should be on pace for a double-double.
Harden also one of his worst assist to turnover ratios. I think he had 9 assists, 5 turnovers in that game. So,
yeah.
You know me, I'm a stickler for that.
You are.
Most important stat, some would say.
Lob City 2011 to 2017 says Terrence Mann will be player of the game. Would love that. He was
he was early player of the game in this one.
Yeah, against the Nets, he was 100% early player of the game. Yeah, the Zoab sense, man, just looking at the box score from that game, that's going to be scary. Norm also needs to be better. Norm shot 25%. Tucker guarding Braun. Yeah.
Tucker's bench streak, his DNP streak finally ends.
We need to talk about some player acquisition stuff in a sec. Data Man says Norm, respect that. Someone lower in the chat was mentioned how D'Lo kind of scares them.
He does not scare me.
He is annoying against the Clippers. He does the thing where he gets hot early, which I don't like. And off the bench, that was kind of a weird matchup. But I don't know. Starting fully healthy, I'm fine with D'Lo, but it's going to be interesting what it looks like with Plum.
Yeah. If that's the guy taking the shots, I think I can live with that.
Okay. I think that's
depending on the profile, but yeah.
And we know if Adam Oslin were here, we know what he would say. You want to pull AD away from the basket, defensively and offensively, right? You want him shooting bad mid-ranges. You want him hopefully not clogging up the paint. Cover up all banners except the in-season tournament. That would be great. LeBron James kind of went off against us, which I don't like. Let me look at this matchup.
That's what
here
I'm
real
saying. Like,
quick.
if LeBron and AD are both having like the games that they had last
Right.
time, it's a lot more difficult. LeBron had
It's not
25,
ideal.
AD had 22. They were both like, I mean, AD was 67% from the floor and LeBron was 58. So both like damn near 60%.
And it's funny if you look at the weird, very weird NBA.com lineup data, Kawhi was on him supposedly for 5 minutes, which is by far the most. LeBron only took 2 shots, and he went 0 for 2 in those 5 minutes. Everyone else he cooked. He went 2 for 2 on Paul George, 2 for 3 on Terrence. He got on the Zoo. He went 4 for 8. Like, he was cooking on everyone but Kawhi, which will be something. Hey, what's up, Kylie Sparks? Hope you're doing well. She said, yes, you have to lock up AD. Who's on AD? Who's going to guard AD? It's not going to be Zoo. It's like,
Terrence.
I mean, I guess let me look up who guarded him last time. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Paul George guarded him the second most, but it was less than half of how long Zoo guarded him.
Hoof.
So I don't know, because it seems like they kind of mirrored minutes a little bit. I don't know how that's going to go. Daniel Tice had him for 13 seconds. AD went 1 for 1. So that doesn't feel good. But yeah, the backup setters are going to have to be.
That's such a small sample size. What the
13
hell are you
seconds.
talking about?
13
What
seconds.
the hell are you talking about?
That per 36 is brutal for Tice. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I don't know. I need. Yeah, my player of the game is whoever ends up playing the 5 the most. It might be Russell Westbrook. Late in the game, he played 5 against the Nets, but the Lakers.
I don't see
are
that
bigger.
happening in this one, man.
I hope not. The Lakers are bigger. This is going to be another close game, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, it definitely will. A lot of physicality. It'll be a grind.
A lot of physicality. Oh, that's the other thing. We got to, if Adam were also here, he would also bring up the refs. So we hope that doesn't go crazy. Was that super off last time? No.
The free throw
we took
disparity.
More free throws. We took 3 more free throws.
So, same.
Let's hope that let's run that back. Let's run that.
Yeah.
I would love to win free throws again. Wow, we won free throws, 1 turnovers, and still lost that game. Unbelievable. Well, we hope they can do it without Zoo. Oh, what's up? Orange Tears. The Clippers do have a podcast. They have a couple of them, but this one's fun. Usually we have Adam Osland on here. Let's talk. So Lucas Hahn had a tweet about Paul George, alluding to Paul George's contract and how there may be signs that indicate that Paul George might want the full max. And what would the Clippers do if Paul George wants the full max? I think that's a fair question. We're not insinuating anything here. There's no scuttlebutt from this side, but it is something to think about. With Kawhi having signed his extension, not taking the full max. Are we really? Do you think Paul George wants the max? I don't know if Paul George. You think he does?
I do. Yeah. I do think he wants the max, but I think just given the availability and stuff and their respective age, I think regardless, it makes sense the Clippers position where they're at. I don't know. Do things change if he wins? Do things change? If they win a chip, is that enough to get him a max?
Yeah.
Once again, it depends on what it takes to keep Harden as well.
Yeah. For me, if they win a chip and PG's like, I want the max, I'm like, sure, whatever. We won 1 championship. That would be, I'm like, fine, let's do it. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if I blame Paul George for wanting the max.
I don't know. To me, it seems
I can't blame anyone who plays in the NBA for wanting as much money as possible, if that makes sense.
Totally.
It's hard for me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, like, your window of earning is relatively small. I got to be honest, though, if Kawhi is willing to do it, a player of Kawhi's caliber, which is
who's done it, who's done what Paul George wants to do. Yeah.
I think maybe that's maybe a little silly. That's kind of splitting hairs at that point. Like this
that's in
player
the silly category.
I mean, well, Paul George has said on his podcast that they legitimately like each other. They legitimately like playing together. And so if you want to keep that together, you got to make some sacrifices, man. And if the guy who has 2 finals MVPs is making them, I don't see why you can't follow suit. Personally.
That's a very good argument. I mean, you're right. Kawhi's done more than any of the guys who are on the team, and they all want they want a ring. They've talked about, Russ did. Look at Russ. Look at the contract Russ took. We don't know how much or what else was out there, but I bet more than 5 was out there.
Have we considered the podcast P money either?
Oh, Stewie by Stewie. Yeah. Stewie B. Stewie says he's making all that sweet podcaster cash. He can afford a pay cut. That's true. I wonder what his ad reads are.
I don't know. We are getting some support to Max Paul George if we win a chip, which
what if they wait that long? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you have time. You can.
That's true. They can't just wait.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about this one too, is because Paul George is having a great season so far, but you wonder who has the real leverage in this scenario, right? I mean, Paul George certainly can choose to go. I mean, I think Philly is obviously plays the most obvious target. Who would probably?
And they might be also just trying to drive up the price too, which is annoying because Morey's. I don't like Morey.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's an obvious destination, right? But then I don't know. Are you willing to leave home again and play in the East? I don't know.
Live in Philadelphia?
Is it worth the extra 10 million or whatever? I have no idea. I got to be honest. I will probably never know what the difference is between 50 million and 30 million. I mean, and it wouldn't even be that low. It'd be 50 million and 40 million or whatever. Like I truly, at that point, what is $10 million? I have no idea.
And you'd have to think that just in terms of kind of lip service and stuff like that, if he wants the max and then it just doesn't work out, then James Harden is like, well, what the hell, man? Like, I mean, it leaves more money for James Harden.
Yeah. And we've talked about this bebefore too.
But it would still be weird if you were James. You'd be like,
I just wonder what the precedent it sets, right? Because we kind of hope that Kawhi set the precedent, right? That everybody is willing to take some sacrifices. You got to really slum it on $40 to $50 million a year to make this thing work, to keep everybody together. And I understand the position of, Paul George, multiple-time All-Star, Hall of Famer. I understand his position for wanting the most amount of money. But if Kawhi's deal didn't set the precedent and then we get a max in there for Paul George, does that leave Harden feeling slighted? And does that completely ruin the chemistry, like the on-court chemistry of what we have so far? I think that I don't know. I think that it would be a bad look personally for Paul George to completely drag his feet on like a no max, no deal situation.
Yeah, I would agree with that. AJ has a funny quote or has a funny comment. James Harden would honestly never trust another human being again. Yeah, I would just feel bad for James Harden's trust issues at that point. Logan Rapp says it shouldn't be surprising that a superstar's opening position is max. It's on the front office to make the argument and negotiate it. A player of his caliber is never going to offer less to start. Totally. And I think, I don't know. Is Paul George, I don't know what agency he's with, whatever. It's all going to be negotiated. And I think he'll end up taking less than the max.
Or maybe it could be like max money, less years, something like that. He's just not
max
getting
money, less years. Sure.
He's just not getting the full 4 years for 30% of the cap, whatever that number ends up being as the cap rises. I'm not actually sure.
Right. Danny Perez says, don't forget about taxes. Danny, I never forget about taxes. I did my taxes on January 8th this year. But again, confidence it's going to get done. Everyone will be excited. And if you're wondering about James Harden, we can't do that until the offseason. So really everything's waiting on the Paul George contract, and then we'll know what we can give James Harden. That's kind of it. Waiting for my W-2s. You should check online, Danny. They're probably online. Kylie Sparks. Thank you for that inside Hollywood information. He's with CAA, so they will probably start at max. That makes total sense. Scott Tran with a good question. What are we calling the lineup with Westbrook at center? I think we might have to chew on that one for a sec.
Yeah.
We'll have to figure that one out. I don't know. What a whirlwind. William Blast. Final comment before we head out. I hate CAA. I stand with William Blast on this one.
Strong words.
Unless they want to rep us, in which case I've always loved their work and really
huge fan of their work. What they did with that deal, that was big stuff.
The points on the back end.
Wow.
we are going to wrap this up, and I think I might go rewatch that fourth quarter against the Nets because I'm still not entirely sure what happened. But it was fantastic. Brody's bunch, I like that, Seth G. That's a solid one.
We're getting some love for Paul George.
Yes, getting some love. Modern archetype teams should be drafting. He is worth every penny he has paid. The two-way player thing is a myth. It's too difficult to be elite at both. Every young player coming in says they model their game after Paul George. Must be something to it. He's a really tall guy who can shoot really well and handle above average sometimes. Will, when are we going to be back next? We're going to do Double Dip with Adam Osland?
Yeah, probably Tuesday after the game.
Yes. If you're in LA and you want to listen to us on the radio talk with our other co-host, Adam Osland, one of us will be on post-game.
And Adam has you pre and post-game over at AM 570.
Yes, he does. Along with Carlo Jimenez, we'll take you through the whole game. Full episode on Wednesday, probably. We'll figure it out. Should be
thereabouts.
A good time. Somewhere thereabouts. Thank you to everyone hanging out on the live stream. We really appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. We come out with these a couple times a week. Do lives on the weekend or after big games and whatnot. Will, where can these people who are listening, which we also appreciate very much, review and all that good stuff?
You can rate or review this podcast over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You can listen to it wherever you get your podcast, but you got to check out the show on YouTube. You can watch us there. That's youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. And you can chop it up with us anytime over at ClippersPod on Twitter. Speaking of which, I mean, if you want to see another live post the Lakers game, you might be able to twist Charles's arm into it.
Yeah, sure. I'm being volunteered for this. That sounds
It's
good.
a school night, but we might be able to be pressured into
at
it.
the game. We will also be at the game. Have a good one, everybody. Hope everyone had a good weekend. And as always, let's go Clips.
Let's go Clips. Thanks, everybody.